MMORPG hype is a dime a dozen, and while there are many great-looking MMOs coming out in the future, there is one that I truly believe has the experience and, more importantly, the pocketbook to really become the largest thing to ever happen to the MMO genre. I'm, of course, talking about the Riot Games MMORPG. In this video, I want to take you through all of the information we currently know about the Riot MMO, the people working on it, as well as speculate on what we may see from the future title using the team's job postings, Twitter responses, and more. As always, we need to remember that while it is fun to speculate and learn all that we can about this game, any information you hear from me or anywhere else can and most likely will change. And that is why I plan on releasing new versions of this video and many more videos regarding the Riot MMO as we get more updates. Before we get started though, I want to shout out to the awesome group we have over on my official Discord, where we are constantly dissecting and finding new information regarding this highly anticipated title. So let's get right into it. Back in late 2019, League founder Mark Merrill teased plans for an upcoming MMORPG title, and almost an entire year later, the infamous Greg Ghostcrawler Street confirmed through Twitter that they were indeed in the process of developing an MMO in the League of Legends universe of Runeterra. So when can we expect the release of this game? Well, without just throwing a dart at a calendar, I personally couldn't tell you. And before you scroll down to the comment section to tell me it's 6, 10, 50 years away, stop. I've heard it all. The truth of the matter is we have no clue, and speculating a release date is a waste of mine and yours time. In fact, Greg Street has been quoted multiple times in saying that the game won't ever come out if it does not meet Riot Games' high bar of excellence. But before you get all worked up, do know that if the game does not come out, it's because
the game isn't good enough.
And not because
it's too expensive.
So let's talk about Ghostcrawler real quick before we get ahead of ourselves. Greg Street was previously a lead systems designer over on World of Warcraft, where he coined the nickname Ghostcrawler. Prior to being employed by Blizzard, Street worked as a marine biologist and eventually started his gaming career working on Age of Empires. In January of 2014, he announced that he would begin working as a lead game designer for Riot on League of Legends. 4 years later, he would begin work developing the franchise and no longer working directly on League itself. Then, in 2020, he would announce that he was officially working on an MMO set in the League of Legends universe. Quite a career, to say the least. So what can we expect to do in the League of Legends MMO? Simply put, anything you could expect to do in a large, massive MMO environment. Ghostcrawler has teased everything from fishing to high-level competitive raid content, even going as far to say he will be crushed if the team fails to deliver on the promise of intense endgame battles. Why the World of Runeterra and not a new IP? Riot Games has been hard at work making League of Legends as rich lore-wise as possible, with plenty of famous regions. In fact, there are 13 named areas Riot picks champs from for their flagship title. We'll likely see these same regions selected for any new MMO title. The main playable regions could be the more civilized areas like Demacia, Noxus, or Piltover, while fantastical regions like Bilgewater or Shurima and the lovable Bandle City may also be very important to the online gameplay. Now, Riot Games may decide to only start off with some of these. They initially just selected 8 as card regions for Legends of Runeterra, but we'd expect them to eventually add the iconic League of Legends areas to the planned online game. Now, I bet you're curious about what kind of classes you might be able to play within the game. League of Legends boasts 6 main class archetypes and 11 subclasses in its arsenal. To any fan of MMOs, many of these names may seem incredibly familiar. We have tanks, mages, assassins, and even some more original ones such as vanguards or skirmishers. If Riot simply makes use of the 6 main classes of fighter, mage, marksman, slayer, tank, and enchanter, then I think we're pretty set for any modern MMO. One of the most exciting things for me is what Riot plans to do with the questing and storyline within the Riot MMO. Riot has hired Mateus T, the lead quest designer for The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. Greg Street replied with some high hopes for him, writing, "His vision, approach, and commitment to resonant stories and player experiences are perfect for the new MMO. MMO. Now, not only do we have the Witcher quest designer, but in mid-2022, Anthony Reynolds, the writer of the Ruination novel, which built upon the story of Viego, one of League's most adored and feared champions, was announced to be working as the lead narrative writer on the MMO. I don't know about you, but my hype around the questing and narrative in this game is enough to just get me high on copium alone. Another area I expect Riot to excel at is the PvP within the game. Ghostcrawler all but confirmed PvP by saying, "The challenge is even if I say we will have PvP, and we will, that can mean so many different things, from ganking to epic battles to looting to dueling to arenas to even esports. So still, it's probably not going to be for everyone." Another question I constantly get asked is, what is the combat going to look like? While we don't have any guaranteed confirmation on anything, and that is probably true for this entire video, we do have some very interesting snippets from Ghostcrawler. When he was asked about tab targeting, he said, "Not quite ready to share this kind of detail. We think combat is a space where the genre feels a little dated, and humbly, I think Riot is pretty good at combat, but explaining our design and intentions will take a lot more space than just a tweet." He also had this to say with his interview with Lost Art creator Canon regarding combat.
Hopefully, action combat and MMOs will get to that point too, but I think it has a long way to go.
Furthermore, I think we can all but agree it will be action combat oriented based on their job posting for a game designer, Action Combat, for the unpublished MMO. And with that, back into the world of the unknown we go. How about monetization? Is there going to be a subscription model, pay to win? Well, I highly doubt there will be a subscription. In fact, I think it's safe to say that given Riot's history, the game will be as free to play as hitting the subscribe button on this video. That said, Riot has mastered the games as a service pay model, and I would make the assumption that they will continue this into the MMO. How they choose to monetize will most likely be either premium subs, a non-pay to win cash shop, cosmetics, season passes, or a combination of these. Greg Street even said, again with his interview with Canon,
"We're not going to do pay to win. We're not going to do pay to power." I'm pretty confident saying that.
Now, aside from this quote, they have also stated that they want this to be a game you can jump in and play, but take time off to play other games. Just this statement alone makes me highly doubt there will be a subscription model to log into the game. And now it's time for my now infamous rapid fire speculation section, where we take tweets regarding different aspects of the MMORPG and gaming in general from the developers themselves and draw conclusions faster than any of my ex-girlfriends ever could. How about dungeons and raids? Yes, Ghostcrawler loves dungeons and raids, but cannot say more than that currently. How will racials, races, and class locking work? While we have no specifics, Ghostcrawler did say that if he was making WoW today, he would allow all classes to be all races. How do they feel about respecting players and their intelligence, as well as telegraphing and other gameplay mechanics? Mark still doesn't follow me on Twitter, Yetter stated that he doesn't want the game to be too handholding and dumbed down for players. Less telegraphing and more looking for animations and in-game mechanics. Will it be an MMO or an MMORPG? How about stats, gear, dungeons? Yes, and yes. What about balance between PvP and PvE? To this question, Ghostcrawler responded with his own question. Would you be okay if abilities work differently in PvE and PvP? What about system requirements? He says, "We can't answer that yet, but in general, you want a game that can let people show off their high-end graphics cards, while also not eliminating the sizable chunk of players who want to play but cannot afford an expensive rig. Will there be time gating, content locks, and dailies?" Greg said that sometimes those systems are designed so that players do not fall too far behind, not necessarily as a means to get you to log into the game daily. Will we have Glamour or Transmogs? Ghostcrawler literally coined the term transmog, so like, yeah, 100%. It's also very likely to be a sizable chunk of their monetization if any of Riot's other games are assigned. Will the MMO have tanking, healing, and DPS? What about the Holy Trinity? There are games that take on the challenge of no Holy Trinity, but that usually ends up becoming a major design focus, which often means you're not innovating on something else. The Trinity does mostly work, not to mention there are lots of people who just want to play healers or tanks. Now, while some future MMO titles are ran with complete transparency, some others, like the RIOT MMO, require a little more digging. And through all this digging, there is one recurring theme I find, and that's that the the Riot game is looking to build a highly accessible MMO. They don't want to build a niche product that appeals to only a very small subsect of 30-year-old gamers, and instead bring in the next generation of MMORPG gamers, while also including us old, balding gamers as well. Whether they plan to do this through a game that can be played on a toaster, simplified gameplay, modern systems, or simply respecting the player, we are kind of yet to see. That said, I am very excited to see what the future has in store for us all. And there you have it, the up-to-date list of all things currently known or unknown about the Riot MMO. Personally, I really hope we can get a title this year. It would be so nice to change all of my videos from Riot MMO to World of Runeterra, whatever they decide upon. So hopefully we can see something like that in the near future. That said, they do have a habit of releasing new info the day after I make a video, so we will see. As always, my name is Spun. Thank you so much for coming out to this video. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Peace.